Welcome back to the School of Port online video library. Today we will be talking about two very important processes of the vinification of port: fermentation and fortification. If you have seen our last episode, you will know that approximately 20,000 pickers are hand-picking grapes at this moment, and they are firstly assessed in the vineyards for their quality, and then they are transported down to the wineries. Usually starting in the second week of September is our harvest. After the grapes are manually picked in the vineyards, they are transported down to the winery where they first go through our sorting table. Here we manually select the bunches that are going to be used for the production of port. After the grapes are picked and sorted at the entrance of the winery, they are then put into this luggage. We then start shredding the grapes so that we can release all the colors and the flavors and the aromas, and that also starts the process of fermentation. In this case, we have an automatic shredding system just behind us. The fermentation process is the process by which the sugars inside the grapes are turned into alcohol, and that requires the use of yeasts. Here in the Douro, for the production of port, producers still prefer to use indigenous yeasts. So while the wine is fermented, it is constantly assessed to analyze the level of sugar still present in the wine. Once it reaches a level of 7 to 8 degrees in the Beaumet scale, then we need to stop the fermentation. So the fermentation process is identical to all the wine production. But what is specific about port? In port, we have a very short fermentation period that lasts typically 2 to 3 days. And that is because we want to stop the fermentation while there's still natural sugar present in the wine. So in dry wines, there's an extended period of fermentation because only when the sugars are over, then the fermentation naturally ends. But for port, we want to keep it sweet. So that means we need to stop the fermentation while there is still sugar present in the wine. And how do we do that? We stop the fermentation by adding a grape spirit, which is 77% in alcohol and as neutral as possible, to kill the yeasts, thus making the wine ready. This process of adding grape spirit to the fermenting juice is called fortification. And that's why port is called a fortified wine. The grape spirit used to make the fortification of port needs to be 77% in alcohol, and it needs to be also as neutral as possible in terms of color, aromas and flavors. For the fermentation to happen, we need yeasts. They are the ones who are going to be responsible for the transformation of sugar into alcohol. So the amount of contact that the liquid has with the skins is super important to get the right extraction and the right balance in port. So having only 2 to 3 days, having this circulation of the wine through the cap is essential when we want to get the best of the flavors and the aromas for each port being produced. So the important thing is that we keep the fermenting liquid moving through the skins of the grapes so that we can extract the colors, the tannins and the aromas. Fermenting in this lagar, we have a grape variety called Sousão. And it's actually what we call a casta tintureira, which means that it's one of the few varieties that actually has color inside the grape. This grape adds amazing color to the wine, as you can see. This specific system has 2 plaques that move up and down, much like the human leg movement would be. And it also has some little silicone rectangles at the bottom, so it doesn't crush the seeds, which is very important in wine production. Another important aspect of these automatic modern shredding systems is the fact that we've added temperature control. Controlling the temperature during the fermentation is absolutely essential to the quality of the port being produced. Join us for our next video where we will be looking at wine shredding. And as always, follow us at School of Port, brought to you by the Port Med people at Symington Family Estates.